Okay, so today we're going to tie the pink squirrel Jun Kebari. I've got a moonlit 𝗙𝗶𝗲𝗀 hook in. This is a size 10, but of course you can tie this fly down to size 12, 14, 16, maybe even 18s if you need that. So we're going to start out with some 𝗦𝗹𝗶𝗲 silk thread, 202 color, and just going to tie it in on the shank about halfway and take off the little tag there. Going to tie in some gold wire. This is brassy weight, and this is going to be just for a small tag at the end of the fly. Doesn't have to be too accurate, and then just sort of spiral your wire up, 𝗧𝗲𝗶𝗲 around the thread to capture a couple wraps in front, a couple wraps behind, and then of course helicopter off your wire, and then put a 1/2 inch in. And you can compact your tag a little bit if it's a little more open. Next we're going to tie in the wool yarn up near where you'll tie it off, and then just sort of wrap it back to the tag and then back up and put your 1/2 inch in. Bring up your rotary bobbin cradle, and then rotate your wool yarn on. I like my flies a little thicker in profile, so I go back over it just like that. With your finger, kick the bobbin cradle out of the way. 𝗧𝗲𝗶𝗲 around your wool yarn, and then go ahead and cut that off. And then once again, I like to put in a 1/2 inch. 1/2 inch is a nice little knot. It keeps your fly from unraveling if your thread was to break or if something was to go wrong, but it also makes a more robust fly on the stream, and it's easy just to put in at periodic points when you're tying it. Okay, so pull out a little bit of thread, wet your finger and wet your thread, and then tie on your dubbing, then wrap on your dubbing, make a dubbing noodle. This is 𝗧𝗲𝗶𝗲𝗀 fluorescent pink, and you don't need much for the pink squirrel, just enough to give it a little blush of a thorax. Wrap it on, put another 1/2 inch in, and then of course you can get these strays out of the way. They don't really bother the fly, but the fish don't mind. So next is going to be the legs or the hackle. I'm going to use Whiting Farm Brahma hen saddle hackle. This is the mottled wild type gray. As far as the hackle goes, I like to pinch and sort of strip back quite a bit of the hackle and then snip it off. Now you can tie this in by the tip, which is the more traditional way, or you can tie it in by the stem. For Kebari, I prefer to tie it in by the stem. It just seems to work better for me. Take your hackle pliers and go ahead and wrap. Now these feathers are somewhat delicate, so you don't want to pull too much on there. Wet your finger and your thumb and just sweep some of those fibers back, and then tie off your hackle. And we'll get that out of the way. Again, sweep them back. And then snip off the end and any stray fibers. And then of course wrap your head. And then finally whip finish. I like to do 2 whip finishes on my flies. I do 2 whip finishes in lieu of any head cement. And there we go. So the pink squirrel, Jun Kebari. It's an excellent fly in my waters, and from what I understand, in the Wisconsin driftless, it's a mainstay. Can be tied in many different sizes, and it just works extremely well.